And Mona is already here. Greenings, Mona. She says hi to everybody. So thank you for being here. And that's why we're here, right? We're here for everybody. Okay, so I'm glad you're all here. Welcome back, Angela, Greenings, Green Warrior. And this is something that I have been waiting for a while, because so often Angela will do movements and she'll do these. She's so flexible and so strong, and we enjoy watching her, and she's so inspirational. But if some of us try to emulate what Angela does, we may not get that far down on the ground or whatever. So Angela has designed this wonderful workout for you guys. This is the beginner, gentle beginner workout for strength and everyday movements too, because this is something that we're all concerned about. This is something that and it's called ADL, right, Angela? What you want to tell us what ADL stands for?
Activities of daily living. So mostly when I do my workouts, not mostly, all the time, when I present my workouts, I'm always thinking about what do people do? Because I'm a people watcher, Amy, and I watch people and how they move when they're doing certain activities, and maybe just when they're walking in life, you know? And one of the things that I notice, okay, a lot with aging, particularly with the males, okay? Males have tight ankles and tight hips. And this is what I start to notice. They're not really bending their knees, right? So all of this gets super stiff, right? So I tied in this workout some heel raises, both standing and seated, and work also for the shin muscles. But I do have to say that I have a lot of squats and deadlifts in this routine because they represent activities of daily living. And so I was excited to put it together because I wanted to see about how many exercises I could really cover this way. And I've got a lot. I've got a lot to teach everybody.
Well, I'm really excited about that. But don't let those words, deadlifts and squats, scare you off, Green Warriors, because this is like gentle beginner.
Well, they're going to work. They're going to work.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is you got to be careful of using the word gentle because it's with effort. This is about exercise. It's not yoga, right? So beginners, yes. But if people who are more advanced and seasoned at working out want to do it, go right ahead, because all you folks have to do is include weights and you've got yourself a heck of a...
I think what we'll do now is we'll just start off with our game of true or false.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Oh, I love that. Just Test Voice picks really good music. Okay, the first question, Green Warriors, true or false? Lack of exercise is not a major cause of chronic disease. What do you think? Angela, tell us about it.
All right, so first off, just so you know, I have a cheat sheet because you know me, Amy, I am really like data-based, and I always send Amy my sources and all of that. So I always read word for word. I don't give my summary of something unless I preface it and say, this is how I see this, but then I'm going to read the words, all right? So that's why I've got my cheat sheet. So it is false, okay? So this is just amazing. So I sourced, there's Sid. Hey, my dear, and Roxy, that's great. Wonderful. Thank you.
They all got the answer right because
I know they do. So my source was from the NIH's database, and it's from the Comprehensive Physiology Journal, which was published in April of 2012. The authors are Frank W. Booth, Christian K. Roberts, and Matthew J. Lay. And this is what they say. They say physical activity / physical exercise acts as a primary prevention against, get this, those are my words, 35 conditions. Okay? So if anybody out there would like me to send them the source, I'm happy to do so, because, honey, I'm not reading the 35 conditions right now, okay?
Because we're not going to deal with them, because we've got you, Angela.
Yeah, well, kind of, sort of, but they really go there with it, right?
Yeah.
And because I will probably be touching on close to 20 chronic concerns today with this.
Wow.
So if you want the link, I'm happy to send it to you so you can read those 35 conditions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have some great questions, and here's another one. True or false? Physical activity, physical exercise acts as a primary prevention. Oh, wait. Did we just do that one?
Yeah, we did.
We did, yeah. So we got true or false. In reality, physical fitness and physical activity are one and the same. Ooh, that's a tricky one, Angela. Okay, Green Warriors, give it a guess.
And that's why I wanted to present it, all right? So it's false, but I'm going to tell you my take on this first, but then I'm going to read word for word what the NIH says, okay, comprehensive physiology. So I hear a lot from people, well, I walk my dog. I walk my dog 3 times a day. That's my exercise. And my answer to that is, if that's the most you're doing, that you're capable of, that's fine. But is that the most you're doing at all? Because I have to tell you that if you are not elevating your rate of breathlessness, if you don't feel your heart rate increasing, if you don't want to chat at all while you're working out, but if you have to, you will, that's exercise. You want to have cues that you are actually efforting. So please, if walking the dog, if you are not walking as fast as you possibly can, or even running with the dog, and you're used to walking your dog 3 times a day, you can't call it exercise, folks. You can call it activity for sure. And activity is excellent. So let me get to what they say here. Physical fitness includes a number of components consisting of cardiorespiratory endurance, which they term as aerobic power, skeletal muscular endurance, which is skeletal muscular power, flexibility, balance, speed, and enhancement of your reflex reaction time, and body composition. Physical activity is any bodily movement produced by the contraction of skeletal muscle that increases energy expenditure above a basal level. So that means basically at above a resting level, if I'm going to do this and just walk toward the camera, well, that's being driven by muscle. That is activity. That is not work for physical fitness. If I did a 65-minute, 12.5-pound weighted vest fitness walk today in the sun, going at a pretty good clip, and I got in about 8,200 steps, and that is effort. And I was sweating and not really in the mood to chat, So that's what I wanted to point out to you.
Yeah. So if you're walking along and you have your cell phone while you're walking, and
that stuff slows you down. I have my music plugged into my ears. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm doing. And in fact, on purpose, I don't take a phone. I have a little tiny radio that I purchased from Amazon to just have it in my pocket and go.
Yep. That's really great.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question.
Yep.
True or false, one's balance and flexibility, fitness are based on genetic inheritability?
That would be false. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you know, my mother's got tight muscles. I have tight muscles. I'm like, yeah, don't go there too far into that. I'm not saying that there isn't a little bit of truth to that. So their answer is both have components of genetic inheritability and are also trainable. So the thing is, if you inherited mom's maybe she got shorter tendinous attachments and stuff like that. If you inherited that, which is very possible because it's form, right? So it's physiology. It doesn't mean, though, that you have to be without flexibility in your life. You just have to keep working at it. And when you work at flexibility in particular, be very careful. Don't push constantly to the max, because that's going to be a setup for injury. You just try a little at a time, but consistency is the key with all of this. I lost you. We can't hear you.
Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. We tend to get a little bit push ourselves sometimes a little bit too far too quickly.
Oh, yeah.
That's why somebody like you can really keep us in check. I wanted to ask the Green Warriors, what is one daily activity that you would like to do more easily? Talking about activities of daily living. So type that in the chat if you would answer that, and maybe we can talk about that some more. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we covered our questions.
Yes.
True or false. And should we get started with your class?
Let's go for it.
Yay, let's do it.
Okay, my name is Angela Fischetti of Boomer and Beyond Wellness, and today's workout I'm calling Introduction to Beginners Total Body Workout, aka Amy and Jess Task Boys are calling it Newbie Workout, because really it is. So, and I love that title, by the way. So the accessories we'll be using today will be a sticky yoga mat. I will also be using a folding chair. However, my folding chair is a yoga chair because they're fantastic for demonstration purposes and actually for execution purposes, because you can stick your hands through the window of the chair and all that good stuff. And I will also be using a cushion. I will explain why in a few moments. Here's a little homework, Amy, for the Green Warriors. I would like you folks to Google the rating of perceived exertion chart, RPE for short. It's a 0 through 10 scale. Look for the 0 through 10 scale, not the 10 through 20 scale. There's a difference, okay? And the reason why I tell you to do this is because oftentimes people don't know how to gauge their output, their efforting. And it's very important to understand that. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool for those of us who don't know how to take our heart rate, right? And it can be an excellent tool as well for those who might have a pacemaker and for those who are on certain medications like beta blockers. So let's begin the work with a warm-up. And that warm-up, I love to do warm-ups that are all about warming up the spine, movements of the spine. So I'm going to turn here a little for you on a slight diagonal, placing my hands lightly on the thighs. The knees are bent and the feet are athletic ready stance apart. On the inhale, I'm going to drop the belly down, tip the tailbone up, lift the crown of the head up and back. Now, TIA stroke, you bring the head neutral, while the rest of us could definitely enjoy this hyperextension of the cervical spine. This is a back bend, a spine extension. Now, on the exhale, those of you with spine flexion issues, you stand up to neutral, while the rest of us round the spine, coming into spine flexion. And basically, this is a standing abdominal crunch, right? And then on the inhale, we're going to come into spine extension. All the breath is done in and out through the nose, exhaling into spine flexion. And one more of each. Inhale, spine extension. Exhale into spine flexion. holding here with the belly button in. We want to pull it in so deeply that you almost want to feel it coming out the lower back, and then slowly come up. Let's take some nice big shoulder rolls. Now make sure they're shoulder rolls and not elbow pumps, because a lot of people are very tight throughout that shoulder pectoral girdle. And now from here, I want to go a little bit more into a spine extension, a back bend. So I'm going to show you straightforward. The feet are going to be a bit wider than the hips. Now turning to the side, placing the hands on the sacrum. Now, this hand position could be contraindicated for those of you with carpal tunnel syndrome. That's an extension of the wrist. What you folks do is bring your hands down below the butt, make sure your wrists are straight. So what I'm going to do is just gently kind of slide, thinking I'm sliding my sacrum down toward my heels. The sacrum is down toward the lower back. Roll the shoulders back. TIA stroke, you keep your head neutral. And then for the rest of us, if you want to, drop the shoulders back and lower the head. Now you can also work this with the knees straight. Either way is perfectly okay. Now inhale, I lift the head first. Then exhale, come all the way up. Now I'm going to bring the feet again a bit wider than the hips. This time I want to come into lateral flexion. So I want to make sure that I keep my sternum, my breastbone turned up toward the ceiling. As I slide down my outer right leg, be careful, do not push your hip to the side. I bring left hand to waist, especially for those of you medicated or not, hypertension, have the pinched nerve or rotator cuff issue, and you bring the opposite arm up and over. So we're reaching out through the middle fingers on both sides for lateral flexion, stretching the intercostal muscles between the ribs. It's responsible for 25% of your respiratory cycle. Now inhale, turn that palm up, grab an imaginary hook. Exhale, push down into that left heel, return to center. I'm going to take it right over to the other side, hand to waist, or take it up and over. Reach down and reach up again. Avoid pushing hip out, hips a bit forward. We don't want to turn the torso, the sternum toward the floor, because you collapse the side organs that way. And then inhale, turn the palm up, grab a hook. Exhale, push down into that right heel, return to center. Take a couple of shoulder rolls. And this one is in honor of Be Green with Amy, for Amy herself. Place the hands on the sacrum, and we're going to do a little hula hoop action, but we're going to keep it slow. It's kind of like a slow version of hula hoop, or a slow version of a belly dance. It's a combination of spine flexion, spine extension, and lateral flexion. I'm going to reverse direction. Amy, every time I give this to my prenatal students, prenatal yoga, the females are always like, oh, it feels great. So now we've done our warm up. What I'm going to do here now is grab my chair, and I'm going to be doing things like, I'm going to make sure my chair faces you folks, but I might turn in the chair so that you can see something from the side a little bit. And I'm going to talk to you for a moment about how to sit in the chair. I'm going to pull my cushion a little forward. Now I'm going to explain why I have this cushion. So when you sit in any chair, your desk chair, a folding chair, your kitchen chair, your dining room chair, whatever chair, right? You want to make sure, plain seat, big time on the plane and in your car as well. You want to make sure that the acetobulofemoral joint, the coxal joint of the hip, is just a bit higher than the tibiofemoral joint of the knee. Now, for those of you with knee flexion issues, I promised you a couple of tips, right? So for you folks, I find oftentimes when people, I'm going to bring my chair a little closer, folks, just a little bit. So I find that when people sit in a folding chair in particular, they do this. They bring their feet underneath the chair, you know, and they're bouncing around and stuff. The issue is that this is a hyperflexion of the knee. It's a lot of compression on your knee. So how I like to offset this is by bringing my feet just a little bit forward. So the ankles are just slightly forward of the knees. Now I'm going to turn in the chair and give you one other tip about how to sit in a chair. I place my hands underneath my buttock flesh. I pull the flesh not only straight back, but then I wick it out wide toward the shoulders. And then I do this little rocking from side to side. And what I'm doing is feeling for, in yoga we call it the sits bones, but anatomy, this would be your ischial tuberosity. You want to sit up and forward on the front edges of that ischial tuberosity so that this doesn't happen. A lot of times people do this in a chair, right? Especially if they have to sit in a chair all day for work or maybe for health reasons. So what you're doing, folks, is letting the chair support you. I want you to sit up and support yourself in the chair. Even if it means you could put a cushion behind you. I even have a yoga bolster here. You can put one behind you. So you make sure that you're sitting up tall. So those are the tips that I did want to pass your way. Now, I'm going to ask you all, please, if you can, to stand up. And I want you to make sure that some part of the back of your leg, the leg, folks, is from below your knee to the top of your ankle. The rest here is called the thigh, all right? I want some part of your leg to touch the chair. It could be the back of your knees. It depends upon your height. It could be the back of your thighs. But I want some part to slightly touch the chair. Because what I'm going to ask you to do, without looking down to see where it is, therefore I want you to feel safe, thus touch the chair, okay? I want you to sit. Now I'm lifting my toes inside the shoes, and I'm going to stand right back up. And I'm going to sit. So folks, these are chair squats. And then I'm going to show you here, when I come up on the exhale, I'm doing a slight posterior pelvic tilt. And I'm contracting the glutes as well as the quadriceps. Let me make sure I'm slightly touching my chair. And you're going to continue. Now, you can make this, well, I should say you can level up by putting your hands like so. Notice my elbows are lifted. And by lifting the toes inside the shoes, you are training your shin muscles that need a lot of love, excellent for your gait, for your balance, and strengthening of your knees. But the other thing it does is it drives up through the posterior extensor chain muscles of your body, your back erector muscles, the gluteals, and the hamstrings. One more, we're going to come all the way up and then take it back down. Now, I want you to sit all the way back into your chair. You're going to hold on to the chair, especially if this is something new to you. What I do is I keep my feet in dorsiflexion. So plantar flexion is when you point, dorsiflexion is toward the face. Holding on, belly button in, you're going to do a leg extension. And then you're going to lightly tap your heels back down to the floor to lift back up. But what if you do this and go, this is no big deal. I don't really feel anything, even though we're definitely working those quadricep muscles and your shins. Well, don't hold on. It is a way to level up. Another way to level up is by not sitting back in the chair. So I'm not relying upon this rim of the chair to help me upright. Exhale, pause. So you always want to pause at the peak of the contraction, right here. You inhale to lower, exhale on the effort, E, folks. We're going to go for 2 more. Pause. 1 more. And another way to level up is to hold and hold and hold. Go for this isometric contraction to lock in the work. You're going to notice that the belly button, the transverse abdominis muscle, that's that deep core muscle, it's going to work. Right? It's going to automatically work along with your back erector muscles. Now, if you need to rest your heels down, you do it. Otherwise, if you want to challenge yourself, you hold on to the chair, and we're going to work with what is called hip abduction, ABD, going away from the midline of the body into hip adduction, ADD, going toward the midline of the body. So I inhale, open, exhale, close, and I'm pausing for a beat in both positions. Now, you can also, and I don't have my back touching the back of the chair, but if you have to, that's okay. I'm going to let go. So it's a way to level up. So these are just a number of tips that you can do. Now, notice I am not bringing my outer thighs any wider than the seat of the chair. And this is a very important point for those of you with osteoporosis of the hips, or those of you who might have had a hip replacement. I'm going to do a couple of more repetitions, and boy, those quadricep muscles are working. I'm promising you that. And I'm going to do one more in. Now, I want you to open, and we're going to pulse, 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 pulse. Notice how small the pulse is. Pulse, 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 pulse. So we're in hip abduction, pulsing away. And now I'm going to close, and I'm going to hold in hip adduction, ADD. Hold steady, breath in and out through the nose. And lower down. And now a little massage hack, because I am also a licensed massage therapist. You take your fingertips lightly and you create this sort of oscillation movement, this kind of gentle vibration movement. It will actually help wash out any or prevent some of that muscle soreness you can get after strength training. Now, let me see what I have next for you. Okay, so now I'm going to stand on up, and I'm going to turn the chair around, facing that way. And I can definitely come closer for this. Okay, so I talked to you before about those feet issues. We're going to work on the heel raises. So remember, Morton's neuroma, bunions, and hammer toes. Be careful here. So I'm going to lightly hold on. You never want to like put all your body weight, because folks, these are just folding chairs. Now, I have to tell you, sometimes when I work virtually with husbands and wives, I put one of them to sit in the chair, make sure that chair doesn't go anywhere. So you're going to stand tall, and we want to lift up high on the balls of the feet to fully contract the calf muscles. Now, a couple of tips. If you must be in a chair all day long, I'm going to guarantee you that you're going to have a fluid buildup in your lower legs, possibly in your toes, feet, ankles, etc. I can tell you that when I stand at my desk, because of the, that it is a standing desk, it doesn't matter, because I can get caught up working for hours on the computer, and I'm telling you that my calves will get bigger, and I must do my standing heel raises while at the desk. So this is very important. And let me also tell you the names of the muscles involved here in the calves. We have the gastrocnemius, the soleus, and the plantaris. Because the knees are straight, the muscle that is working the most is the soleus. It's known as the second heart. And I think you will understand why it's called that, because part of its function is the venous return of the blood. That means it helps pump the blood back toward the heart. Now, I don't want to forget those of you who maybe can't even get out of the chair. Well, we're going to show you how to do it in a chair, okay? So we're going to work on heel raises again, but this time the knees will be flexed, okay? And You don't want your feet all the way out in front here because you don't have any room here to move your heels. So we do want to make sure that you as well can get up onto the balls of the feet. So exhale, up, pause. Slowly articulate the foot down. Don't just drop it down. The other thing you want to be careful of when you do seated heel raises or the toe taps, which are coming next, a lot of times people do this. They lean back. Stay upright, please. Belly button is in. Let's work those back erector muscles. The erector muscles run up and down both sides of the spine. And yes, they keep us erect, right? So you come all the way up. Exhale. Pause. So these are little tips to help offset that type of shuffling along I was showing you, particularly important for the males, as we said earlier. And I'm going to take a couple of more repetitions. Up, pause, slowly lower. And one more, up, pause, and slowly lower. I'm going to stay here because now my focus will be on my shin muscles. I need to bring the feet just a little bit more forward. If you want to, those of you working with weights, bring your legs together, put a heavier weight across your thighs, hold on to it. You can do this stuff this way as well. So now I'm going to lift up and notice what where I'm lifting from. I'm lifting from the arches, folks. So that part of the arches, the balls of the feet, the toes are lifting, and I am moving. I am not counting, but I'm going for a feel. And that feel, you will feel it, that you cannot actually lift them anymore, that the muscles are working so hard that they're saying, I can't go any further. And I'm almost there. So it's a little bit more because I want to be forthcoming. That for sometimes it might take a lot of reps and other times it might not. And that is it for me. But this way we've got all that beautiful blood flow going on now. Now, moving on here, I'm going to move the chair out of the way. And I'm going to move into some squat and deadlift work with you. What I want to do first is present to you just a couple of repetitions of a basic squat and a basic deadlift, but I will be working variations with you, all right? So you get to choose the basic one and also, or go back to the chair squat, perfectly acceptable. I'm going to turn to the side, lifting the toes inside the shoes. I inhale, sit back into a chair. Exhale, come up, posterior pelvic tuck, squeeze. That is very important for the work. That's one more. Now, here's the difference between a squat and a deadlift. Toes are still up, knees are still soft, hands in front of the thighs. You're in athletic ready stance. But this is not sitting back. This is a hip hinge, pelvic tuck, squeeze. I want you to be able to bend down, pick up something, and get up without issue, all right? So now I'm going to show you something called a squat thruster. So I'm going to bring the hands like so. This means I'm in a bicep curl. This means golfers or tennis elbow have to find out if this movement is appropriate for you. And I'll show you straightforward here, athletic ready stance. I'm going to sit back into a chair on the inhale. Exhale, come up, thrust the hips, and take a military, AKA shoulder press. Now, those of you medicated or not for hypertension, have rotator cuff muscle issues or pinched nerve at the neck, please do not lift the arms up and overhead. Simply do the squat portion of this. But these are two compound movements blended together. Compound exercise they have you simultaneously work the larger muscle groups and multiple joints simultaneously. We're going to go for two more. Inhale, exhale, up. I fibbed. Now I'm going to go for two more because I want you to see it from the side. Inhale, exhale, up. One more. Exhale, up, and lower the arms down. Now, the next exercise I'm going to do is a sumo squat. So here we go, wide-legged squat, not for those of you with osteoporosis of the hip or hip replacement. Bring it closer together. both my legs and my arms, because I'm going to tie in movements here that will be beneficial for those of you medicated or not for hypertension, have rotator cuff, and also pinched nerve at the neck. I begin with the arms 10 to 15 degrees away from the sides of the body. So both the legs and the arms are doing abduction, abduction, away from the midline of the body. Exhale to come up into adduction, going toward the midline of the body. Now, why don't I begin and end the exercise with the arms here? Because the first 10 to 15 degrees of movement are performed by the supraspinatus muscle, one of the rotator cuff muscles. We don't want to do that. So what I'm doing is hacking, folks. I am pulling you into deltoid muscle for the exercise. Pause. Now, as far as the sumo squat goes, I don't like the position of that foot, okay? I want you to make sure that your knees are tracking over your second to third toes, that you're pushing those legs, those thighs in particular, toward the wall behind you while performing abduction and adduction. And if you perform the work slowly, ooh, you're going to feel it coming up to stand and hold. Turning the feet in, moving on here to Romanian deadlifts. So a Romanian deadlift, and by the way, it's been named that for literally almost 100 years, is when you bring your feet a bit wider than the hips and perform your deadlift. So I'm going to turn it on the diagonal here, fingertips touching the thighs, toes lifted. Remember, hip hinge, okay? So I'm going to tie this in with an incline chest press. I might throw something else in here too. So I'm going to come up. Yeah, I'm going to take a bicep curl, then an incline chest press, lower down into the RDL, come into my bicep curl, lean back into my incline chest press. We're tying in 3 movements here, folks, at one time. TIA stroke in that incline chest press. Please be careful with the placement of that chin, making sure you're not doing a hyperextension. Notice I'm pausing to really delineate each movement. That's how you want to train, folks. You don't want to speed through it. Working with the breath. So both the incline chest press and the Romanian deadlift are compound movements. The bicep curl is considered an isolation movement. One more here. Down and slowly take it all the way up. Let's take a couple of shoulder rolls. The next squat, it's kind of goofy, the name, but it is called a zombie squat because it's this, okay? That's why it's called a zombie squat. So I want you to bring your arms out in front. We're going to tie this in, though, with a straight arm pushback. I need to make a note here about the straight arm pushback. Please, some people do this thinking they're going to go so much further back. Stop. Please, just draw your arms back to where they can handle it. I don't want this to start to happen with the shoulders, all right? So we're going to take arms out in front. And let me tell you something. When you hold a weight doing this, wow, it's a lot of work. Toes are lifted. I'm going to sit back into a chair on the inhale. Exhale, push straight back. Thank you, Amy. So that straight arm push back or press back, it's not a kick back, Amy. A kick back is tricep. And up. There goes Amy typing away. Exhale, up. Inhale. Thank you, darling. Pause. And believe it or not, this straight arm pushback is also a compound movement tied in with your zombie squat. Just make sure those knees track over the second to third toe. And back, up, sit back, push, and come on up. And let's take a couple of shoulder rolls. All right, We've got another one to show you here. This is the lateral lunge. Now remember, vestibular challenges, pick another version of a squat or even a deadlift, okay? Because it's unilateral. So I step out. Now I'm going to hold. You want to get the work into this hip. This knee is bent, okay? You close on the hip adduction, ADD. So this is hip abduction, hip adduction. You want to make sure that you come all the way upright when you return to meet the opposite leg. Now, this is another way to do it. Some people do this. They don't touch, but I just want to caution you, nothing wrong with it. It is for endurance purposes. I'm always going to suggest that you focus on muscular strength, particularly for a healthier aging process. One more, and exhale, close. I'm going to step over to this side. And then we're going to do a nice cool down in the chair. Want to make sure you don't do this kind of thing, folks, okay? Straight out to the side. And bring that chest all the way up. Exhale to close. Inhale, step out. Last one. Hold. Okay, so now, if you want to, you can repeat the entire program right from the top. For those of you who want more work, I think I had it a little more forward. I'm going to repeat that standing warm-up for those of you who must be in the chair, all right? Because I kind of feel like it's only the right thing to do. So I'm sitting up a little forward here, feet a little bit out in front. And then inhale into spine extension. Watch it, TIA stroke, chin neutral. And exhale, same thing here, spine flexion. You come to neutral while the rest of us take it deeper into spine flexion by rounding the spine. Inhale. Exhale. I've gotten some nice spine adjustments here in this workout today. Hold here now. Work that abdominal. I want you to feel for the belly button in coming toward the small of the back. I'm not doing anything weird with my shoulders. Just letting everything be kind of heavy. And then slowly come back to center. Now, I'm going to place the hands on the chair. What are we doing here? This is wrist extension. So for carpal tunnel, I want you to wrap your fingers underneath the lip of the seat. That's how you'll keep your wrists straight. And I'm going to puff up that chest, roll the shoulders back. Beautiful, kind of a modified cobra, bhujangasana in yoga. And breathe. Inhale, head neutral first. Exhale, release. Now I'm going to come back into the chair. Let's take the lateral flexion seated. So I bring the feet no wider than the legs of the chair. I'm going to turn the sternum up toward the ceiling first, preventing the side organs collapsing. Slide down the back leg of the chair, opposite hand to the waist. Make sure you've got that hip down, okay? For those of you without hypertension, pardon me, medicated or not, you can bring your arm up and over, also pinched nerve or rotator cuff. Keep your hand to the waist. Inhale, turn the palm up, grab a hook, push down into the left heel. Exhale over to the other side, hand to waist or not. It's up to you. We're also stretching the internal and external oblique muscles by the waist, kind of responsible, partially responsible for turning and twisting the torso. And then inhale, palm up, grab a hook, exhale. Come back to center. I'm going to sit a little forward. Now, I'm going to choose to bring my legs wide apart. Thanks, Amy. And remember, those of you with hip replacement or osteoporosis of the hip, you bring your legs closer together. In yoga, we call this the Sufi grind. which is basically that kind of doing that hula movement, that belly dance movement, but now we're going to exaggerate it and make it super big. And I'm going to reverse direction. Oh, feels so good. So folks, this is an exercise routine that once you start adding hold center, once you start adding resistance to it, is incredible how much this will help your activities of daily living, getting up and down from a chair, and in particular in being able to bend down to pick up something to get up without issue, and also to be able to carry your heavy groceries, to be able to push your heavy grocery cart, or when you come upon a heavy door, that you'll be able to push it open. All activities of daily living. So now I'm going to exaggerate the ankle movement to toe heel to bring those legs closer together. And that's what we got for you today, Amy, here with our newbie workout.
Oh, that is so wonderful.
Good. I'm glad. I'm going to get this out of the way for us now for the moment.
So now, Green Warriors, if you haven't worked out in a while, or you've never worked out, and this is a wonderful opportunity, because Angela, you really just guided us through this. And even if we might have some restrictions, you helped us with modifications. So I think this is just going to be so helpful to so many people. We have some comments. Oh, I asked earlier if the Green Warriors, how do they approach exercising and what hurdles they might have. And Roxy said, my problem is being consistent and disciplined with exercise.
Okay, so Roxy, a little tip. I'm going to guess that most people have some sort of calendar of events or a to-do list for the day, or whatever it is, right? Put your name in your calendar to a time, and that's when you do your workout. I do it to myself. People will say, are you available this time of this day? And I see that on that day I have other types of appointments. No, I'm sorry, but I am available this time. And because it is important that you learn how to make an appointment with yourself. And the other thing, as far as consistency, for me, what helps keep me consistent are several things. We talked about when I walk outside, right, with the weighted vest fitness walk. Music. I need music to keep me going. I'm out there because I don't really care what people think of me when I'm out there. I don't. So I'm singing out there and I'm like moving around. I honestly don't care. It's my time and it's in my world. And but also oftentimes, let's say when Sid Nodder appears on Amy, right? Yes. I'll be watching. I'll be typically either doing my yoga or lifting weights. Okay, so I tie it in with something that I in particular enjoy very much. I enjoy my music, and I enjoy the webinars and the seminars, etc., about the whole food, plant-based diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think just finding something that you like to do and that you don't dread doing is so important too.
Right. That's right.
And sometimes we might dread doing something because it seems like hard work. But this, what you showed us, we are going to get exercise, but it's not necessarily hard work that we're going to be sore, or it could be that we might be sore if we really haven't been doing anything. But this is just so approachable. So I encourage people to, and Roxy, even if you just do 5 minutes of this every day, and just make that a habit. I'm only going to do 5 minutes of it every day, and then I'm going to shut it off. And then before you know it, you'll say, well, maybe I'll go a little bit longer. And then you just have to become a habit, right? And we have to put the other things in front of that.
Yeah, you build on it, right? So if you have that 5 minutes and you've done that for 2 weeks, and then maybe 6 minutes. Yeah. And notice I go with the small increments, all right? It's the same way when I'm asking somebody to level up on the weights. And you know how I talk about wear adjustable wrist weights. Take it up by 1/4 pound at a time. I know there's science out there and lots of studies, and you should do 10% this week, followed by 10. Yeah, well, you know what? None of those studies was done on anybody in the healthy aging process, nor on people with chronic health concerns, regardless of their age. None of those studies are on that stuff, right?
Yep.
So we're trying to figure out here with Boomer and Beyond Wellness, with Be Green with Amy, how to make the work accessible to everyone, because otherwise we have an overload and abundance of people not getting up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a problem for their long-term health and to the long-term healthcare system. Try to look at it as healthcare, self-care, as opposed to disease management.
Exactly. And just because you can't do it today doesn't mean, a couple of months from now that you can't do it. So you really just have to get on that horse and start riding. You really have to just do some movements, and you'll be surprised at what you can do. I mean, I know that, I can do more now than I could do when I was much, much younger. And that's because I just keep showing up every day. I keep showing up every day. And as the weeks and months go by, suddenly I say, oh my goodness, I couldn't do that. And now look at me, I'm doing this. And you just surprise yourself. You really do.
Yes.
So Sid said, great reminders about posture while sitting at our desks. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's something that we have to keep remembering.
Amazing.
So Marion Clark wants to know, are these okay to do if you have osteoporosis?
Okay, so this is when I say to you this. You look at what you can do. You figure out, Marion, what movements are you actually doing in your real life that you can see in these exercises. Because if you're doing certain movements that are not harming you in any way, then you can pick some of these. However, what I will always say to you is show it to your doctor. And believe it or not, they will look at it. They may not look at the whole thing, but they may go through some of it and go, yeah, it's all right. Or do this one and this one and this one and not that one, because you're talking to somebody who had osteoporosis. And I was diagnosed with it when I'm talking to her picture. I was diagnosed with it when I was 60. And by the age of 63 and a half, I no longer had it. I have osteopenia, but I call it age-appropriate osteopenia because losing bone density and losing estrogen are not an illness. They are normal to a healthy aging process. But this said, because I had osteoporosis, I don't want it back. And I don't want the osteopenia getting any worse, which is why I do what I do on a regular basis. And that's why I want to encourage you. Amy, didn't we, a couple of years ago, do an osteoporosis workout? So the point is look at the workout, Marion, and look for what you can do. And always approach the work. Oh, you're so welcome. Always approach the work without any added weight, without resistance. Maybe what you can use, which I like to do a lot, is using a fit ball or a 9-inch Pilates ball. They have no weight. I do a whole thing, and I've got more coming out. I have videos on working out with weighted balls. But the fit ball is excellent because maybe I can't hold a weight in front of me right now at this point in my level of fitness for a front squat, but I can keep a fit ball there and work on my form. See what I'm saying? So you can use something like this in your hands, make it tactile so that you are focused on what you're doing. Because I will tell you something. A lot of times I see people in these live Zooms when they're not adding anything else to hold on to. And they're doing like I did. I showed you the whole thing without anything in my hands. They just fling because unfortunately there's a whole bunch of channels on YouTube where folks are caught up in AMRAP. AMRAP means as many reps as possible. That is the total antithesis of what we're trying to achieve. I need your bones to get stronger. And the only way is going to be with strength training, resistance training. I eat the whole food, plant-based diet. I eat these foods because they support my recovery process, right? So I can do this stuff every day. You don't want to do the same exercises every day, but you can vary up those strength exercises, the resistance exercises, and you'll be able to do stuff every day between the diet and appropriate exercise. Because Sid and I did a whole thing, and I think we had some part of that on Amy as well, with exercise and inflammation. Because improperly done exercises, they're going to cause inflammatory processes to kick in. I want you to avoid that. But you can pay attention to your form. So if you already have osteoporosis, you know certain movements you can do. You can do it with a fit ball in hand, right? Help your form. And when you're ready to build up with weights, that's when you talk to your medical doctor. And you must work with a doctor who understands strength training. I was very lucky. I wasn't lucky. I chose him for this reason. My doctor is Dr. Frank Sabatino. He's plant-based, plant-exclusive like I am, and the guy works out with weights, so he can talk shop with me and help guide me. So what I present to you are exercises that once you know you can do them, they are all excellent for osteoporosis, but in particular, the compound movements. It's a long answer, but I want to reassure her that it's a combination of being smart about this and open to it that will take her so far in her process.
Right. And you also teach how people can move in their space, because if you have osteoporosis, you don't want to fall. You want to avoid falling. And you teach, and even in this workout, you were doing lateral moves.
Right.
So that, because typically we just always walk forward, right? And we rarely walk from side to side. And if our body's not trained for that, the way you train us, then that we could have a greater risk of falling and not being able to catch our balance. So these exercises that you're showing are also helping training our body to move through space in ways that we don't normally do when we're not doing the workouts that you have demonstrated.
Right, and also even tying in the incline chest press, something that changes the position of your spine, you know, and including elevation and stuff like that. It's all very important because it just helps us ambulate and throughout life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we want. That not being able to do these activities of daily living that we were talking about, that's not necessarily an inevitable consequence of aging. It's you have control, and no matter what stage of life you're in, Angela can help you through that, and you can actually gain strength and gain flexibility if you follow what she shows you. So I really want to thank you so much, Angela, for what you shared with us today. Green Warriors, please click like to show your appreciation for what Angela shared with us today. Sid said another excellent workout. Thank you, Angela. Your explanations are so thorough and helpful. Yes, I agree. And Angela, tell us about what you do and how we can find you.
Well, thank you, Amy. Well, folks can always feel free to contact me directly by way of the contact form on my website, boomerandbeyondwellness.com. And also there is my YouTube channel, which I have full-length workouts, full-length yoga sessions. We have chair workouts, chair yoga sessions, and also the Have It Your Way workout series, which could be a really excellent series for Marion, because Marion, here is where I teach. Each video covers one exercise at a time. because for some people, it's the way that they can feel a little safer about approaching their workout, and you get to create your own personalized approach to your exercise protocol. And typically I show how to do one exercise 3 different ways. It can be without any additional resistance or holding onto a fit ball. It could also be with bands and tubes. It could be with kettlebells. It could be with weighted balls. It could be with dumbbells. But I usually do 3 ways. I have a couple of videos there, like a 6 ways of doing a squat or something, but that is all important information, especially when you're dealing with an issue like osteoporosis. And I am available as a virtual personal trainer for older adults, myself included, soon to be 67. And I also do virtual work with hatha yoga and prenatal yoga. And if you are in the Fort Lauderdale area of Florida and you would like a massage, I do deep tissue, Swedish massage, but also geriatric massage for those who might have delicate issues like Alzheimer's, etc. And I actually do palliative care massage as well. And again, you can all be reached by going to the contact form on my website. Thanks so much for asking that, Amy. I appreciate it.
Well, that is just so awesome. And knowing that you have all this knowledge and experience so that you can really be helpful to us in so many ways. And if somebody booked an in-person or virtual appointment with you, they would definitely be in such good hands because you are just so knowledgeable. And I just want to give you a huge thank you for sharing your expertise and for guiding us through this gentle, beginner-friendly workout. I mean, your energy and your encouragement, it just makes all the difference.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Marion said, 67, I thought you were in 50s.
My new best friend. Talk to you later, girl.
Thank you for the great workout. And thank you. We got a lot of people commenting and sending their love and hugs. So, Angela, what's your final take-home message for our Green Warriors today?
You need to start somewhere. And wherever you start, remember that's where you're at, right? And accept that for what it is. It's all good because once you accept where you're at, the world opens up when it comes to moving your body. I just ask you to be smart about it. Yes, have enthusiasm, but don't let that take over because sometimes that enthusiasm can lead to injury. And I also ask you, please, to broaden your horizon. Just open up a bit and receive the information. Like I said, even if it's just one exercise at a time. Because I promise you, when you get comfortable within your own body, there's so much joy that you can express through it and also be better able to relate to yourself in your time and space and place.
It's beautiful. Well, Green Warriors, tell us what you're going to remember from today. You know, one of my takeaways is something that Angela said. She said, look for something that you can do. Because oftentimes we're saying, well, I can't do that. So look for something that you can do. There is something. I'm sure there's something that Angela did today that you can do. And go ahead and try that.
Can I do that, Amy? I'm sorry. I want to pick up on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, please, folks, be careful of the voices of the others. You're too fragile. Oh, don't get up. I'll get up for you. Oh, don't worry. I'll do it for you. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't help. It doesn't help. So just be careful of the fears of others. Sometimes our loved ones might say, oh, but I'm so afraid you're going to get hurt, okay? You know, you can love them for it, but don't rule your life by that, folks, because otherwise you're never going to get out of that chair.
Very well said. That is true. And then for those of us that are on the other side, if any of us are on the other side of it, try and encourage the people instead of trying to help them all the time.
That's right.
Help them help themselves. That's such great advice.
Thank you.
Well, I also wanted to thank Jess Task Voice because she did the promo and the countdown. She does all my thumbnails and social media. She's just all over helping me out, getting the word out to people like you to spread the word about a healthy eating lifestyle and healthy physical fitness lifestyle. And I am so excited because I have a guest coming up that I have been trying to nail down into a slot. And finally, that guest is coming up next. Jess Task Boys, tell us who's coming up next.
Coming up, Jessica's plant-based journey on Be Green with Amy Live. Monday, February 10th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
For those of you that don't know who that is Jess Task Voice.
I'm so excited. That's wonderful.
And we talk on the phone so often, and so often when we talk, we say, this would be so good if we just had this on Be Green with Amy, because people could really benefit from the things that we're talking about. And I can't tell you how many times we said that, and we even said that today. So finally, we're going to do that, and she is just going to give us so much information as far as what she's been through in her plant-based journey, and what she does as a single working busy woman out there traveling a lot. And she's going to give us so many tips about things that she does, and it's just going to be so much fun to spend that time with her. And I also wanted to thank you, Green Warrior, for joining us today, because your engagement and support make these discussions meaningful and impactful. And I really hope that you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your food choices and your physical fitness movement choices. Make some positive changes for your health and well-being. And remember, every bite we take, every move we make is an opportunity to nourish our bodies, heal us, and like Angela, become the healthiest versions of ourselves. And please stay tuned for more empowering content. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out Angela's social media as well, and share our message with others who you think can benefit, because together as Green Warriors, we can make a meaningful difference. And as a special thank you to all of you, I am offering you 5 free recipes. If you go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, I will send them to you one at a time every so often, and you'll get lots of pictures from me and motivational quotes and lots of love. And speaking of love, I would like to invite all of you to take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder. Now squeeze, because that's a hug from me to you and from me to you, Angela. And if you would like to join us, Angela's going to help me with my tagline, and you can join us by typing that in the comments below. Are you ready, Angela?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, until I see all of you again, remember, be strong. Oops. Well, and be green.
Green. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Green Warriors. Always a pleasure to be with all of you. Bye-bye now.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be green with